The entire Golden State Warriors offseason has been hard to put into words. Today, the Warriors brought back Draymond Green on a one-year, $27.7 million deal, effectively closing out the team's offseason business. Draymond's return also ends any possibility of him ever playing alongside LeBron James. There's not much to say about this contract, since it's literally the same deal Draymond previously opted out of a move made to free up cap space so the team could chase LeBron. Now that James has headed to the 76ers instead, it's only natural Draymond re-signs on identical terms. Him taking just a one-year deal actually helps the Warriors' negotiating position next summer if they want to break out of their current rut. Their one real remaining shot is the summer of 2027. Of course, Draymond's contract isn't really the point here. What matters is that the Warriors' offseason is now basically over, and it's been an extremely disappointing one. After re-signing Draymond, their 12-man roster totals $213 million over the first luxury tax apron. So what else can they even do? Not much, maybe add a minimum guy or two, and that's it. As of now, while the rest of the league has been trading and signing at a furious pace, the Warriors have done essentially nothing. There's no version of this offseason that counts as satisfying. There was a report from someone close to Marcus Smart claiming Curry deliberately delayed signing his next contract, using his own pending free agency as leverage to pressure management into building a real contender. I don't buy that Curry would actually leave, but if I were him, looking at this roster, I'd feel genuinely helpless and disappointed too. Just look at everything the Warriors have and haven't done this summer, since their play in elimination in April. Everything the Warriors have done boils down to one phrase: conservative operations. Preserve last season's roster framework, essentially unchanged. In the June draft, they took Lindbergh in the first round, an older, floor-raising forward with strong physical tools and decent IQ and defense, but limited self-creation. Drafting that kind of winning plays rookie looked like a statement of current mindset intent, but honestly, it reads more like a gesture to placate a veteran like Curry. Then in free agency, a 2-year, $12 million deal for Al Horford, a genuinely solid backup big who's honestly better suited to an actual contender. Someone like the 76ers or Heat could really use him. On a middling Warriors roster, he can't fully realize his value. They also re-signed Buddy Hield for 2 years, $40 million, though only $3 million of year 2 is guaranteed, which makes it decent value on paper, but Hield's injury risk and defensive limitations make him hard to fully rely on. DeAnthony Melton, also re-signed, is similarly injury-prone, faded down last season, and realistically projects as no more than a fringe starter. They added third-string center Chal Bassi on a minimum, which is fine. You need bench center depth given Horford's and Hield's limited availability. And finally, Draymond's one-year deal. That's the entire summer of roster moves. How do you rate that? Honestly bland. Unremarkable. Nothing to it. Aside from the rookie, no fresh blood, no real reinforcement, just retention. Playing conservative isn't inherently wrong, but the real problem is getting shut out repeatedly in both free agency and trades. Draymond had already opted out to clear cap room for James, and the pursuit still failed completely. This time it was Curry personally recruiting James, and the Warriors' pull still wasn't enough. According to Warriors insider Anthony Slater, James was actually open to teaming up with Curry, but only if Curry left the Warriors, not if James joined them. That tells you everything about how far the franchise's appeal has fallen. From start to finish, the Warriors were basically a courtesy stop on James's free agency tour. And James wasn't even the only star they chased. The team just never had the resources or the will to actually land one. Follow the logic from James. Who's the next name? Anthony Davis. Why didn't James want the Warriors? Because they don't have AD. And why don't they have AD? Because the Warriors themselves lack the willingness to trade for him. They weren't prepared to pay future first-round picks for an injury-prone star with 2 years left on his deal, especially with their 2027 cap plan looming. So they were enthusiastic about James but had zero enthusiasm for the Davis trade that would have made James realistic. And what leverage did they even have to offer Butler? Wiggins? No Davis, no James. Reports also say the Warriors pursued Jaylen Brown, reaching out to Boston early in the trade rumors, But the Celtics wanted 4 future first-rounders, plus young core-caliber players. The Warriors don't really have those to offer, considered the price too steep, and walked away. They also reportedly chased the Pelicans' Trey Murphy III, offering 2 firsts plus filler, while New Orleans wanted 3 firsts plus a young player again, too rich for the Warriors. And let's not forget their earlier failed pursuit of Giannis. So why do the Warriors keep striking out everywhere? Partly, sure, the Curry-Draymond core has aged, Butler and Moody don't add real depth, and no young player has developed into a second star-level talent. But I don't think that's the main reason. The main reason is management's lack of determination. If they truly committed, could they not have landed Jaylen Brown? And if they had, would James have followed? Reinforcement tends to snowball. The draft pick and the various big-name pursuits were mostly theater surface-level stability plays meant to placate Curry. I don't think GM Mike Dunleavy bears much responsibility here. The real blame lies with owner Joe Lacob, who's far too flashy, too obsessed with grand gestures, and interferes too much in basketball decisions. The Warriors' predicament really comes down to 3 root causes. First, dynasty aftermath, the natural aging that erodes competitiveness. Second, the much-discussed mistake of championship legacy basketball, which is really just another form of that same hangover. Third, and maybe most fatal, is Lacob's years-long habit-both-ways approach, wanting to develop favored young prospects while also staying championship competitive at the same time. That flawed strategy wasted the final peak years of Curry's prime and effectively closed the championship window. The 2024 trade for Butler was a last-ditch course correction, but with Butler and Moody both suffering season-ending injuries in 2025-26, that final push essentially collapsed too. That's why this roster is now so hard to fix, and why Lacob has shifted into strategic contraction. Don't expect major future investment. Fans and analysts have every right to be disappointed. Compare this roster to the stacked battleship Daryl Morey has built in Philadelphia, and the gap is genuinely painful to look at. Next season's roster is honestly heartbreaking. Beyond Curry, it's stocked with age and injury risk. Butler and Moody definitely won't be back for the first half of the season. Beyond the aging core, there's no real ball handler besides Curry, no shot creator, no backcourt depth, and a shortage of physical, lockdown 3 and D wings at the 2 through 4 spots. Objectively, this team won't be very competitive next season, a fringe play-in team at best. So is there any real hope left? The last meaningful opportunity is the summer of 2027, possibly the final real window for Curry and this era of the franchise. That summer brings a wave of expiring contracts, and even accounting for Curry's and Podziemski's Ray signings, the Warriors should be able to clear roughly $50 million in cap space, potentially $60 million if Curry's new deal isn't too pricey. That's actually part of why they wouldn't take on someone like Davis now. They need that flexibility preserved. First priority with that space, chase a big-name hitting free agency, someone like Jokic or Karl Anthony Towns. If that doesn't work, cap space also lets you absorb players other teams are essentially giving away for salary relief, like Oklahoma City did with Aaron Wiggins this year. A third option is copying the Lakers' playbook this year, extending offer sheets to restricted free agents to force a decision. That's how the Lakers landed Walker Kessler. Next year, the Warriors could try that on someone like Charlotte's Brandon Miller or Detroit's Oscar Thompson. If they get lucky and use that cap space well, they could meaningfully reinforce the roster and even find a future core piece. I'm not exaggerating. 2027 is genuinely something to watch closely for this franchise. Of course, all of that is fairly idealistic. Even if the Warriors do find a core piece or an impact star, by 2027, 28 Curry will already be quite old at that point. It really comes down to how well he personally maintains his physical condition. Curry's career in some ways really is a bit of a shame. Fans who love him love his humility, his understated nature, the fact he's never been overbearing. But if he'd been a little more forceful, a little tougher, maybe management would have felt more pressure to make bigger moves. Being a one-team, one-city legend is an incredible honor, but late in a career, that same loyalty can also become something of a cage. Life is rarely perfect. You give something up to gain something else. Sometimes choosing one path means letting go of another. Understand Curry. Respect Curry. Time is short. Appreciate it while it lasts. Thanks for the likes, comments, and subscribe. See you next time.